Section 1. The Forgotten Throne. They told you to be kind, to be humble, to be small, enough to fit inside their expectations. They called it feminine. They called it good. That what they really meant was obedient from the moment you opened your eyes. They trained you to give, to serve, to nurture, to please. And somewhere along the way, Q forgot that you were born to rule. You became the caretaker of everyone else's dreams, the healer of everyone else's wounds. But who healed you? Alan Watts once said, "You are the universe experiencing itself." And if that's true, then tell me, why do you bow to the world when the world itself is inside you? You were not created to chase. You are not created to beg for crumbs of affection, or to prove your worth to those who cannot even see their own. You were created to embody, to be so anchored in your own essence that life bends itself to your energy. But they feared that version of you, because the woman who knows her power is uncontrollable. She cannot be guilted. She cannot be manipulated. She cannot be owned. So they taught you to shrink, to apologize for your strength, to trade your crown for acceptance. And for years, you did. You dimmed your light so others could shine comfortably in your presence. You broke your own back trying to carry ungrateful hearts. You silenced your intuition in exchange for temporary peace, but something inside you never died. A voice, quiet but relentless, kept whispering, "There's more." That voice is your throne calling you home. You see, a queen doesn't become one when she is crowned. She becomes one when she remembers who she is. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need validation to be powerful. You don't need to prove your worth. You were born worthy. Alan Watts said, "Stop measuring days by degree of productivity and start experiencing them by degree of presence." You've spent your life producing for others, for approval, for survival. But queens don't chase survival. They command existence. They live in presence, in elegance, in certainty. And that's what they never taught you. Your strength isn't in domination or control. It's in awareness. Awareness of your worth, your boundaries, your energy. You've been playing small in a world that thrives on your insecurity. But now, you've seen too much to go back. You're beginning to see the lies for what they are. And the truth is, you've been powerful all along. You just forgot. This is your awakening, not to become a queen, but to start acting like one. Because a queen doesn't wait to be chosen. She chooses herself every single day. Section 2. The Awakening of Power. Every woman has a moment when she stops apologizing for her power. It's not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or applause. It happens quietly, somewhere deep within, when she finally realizes she's been living as a servant in her own kingdom. You feel it like an ache before it becomes a roar. The ache of exhaustion from giving too much. The ache of always being the understanding one, the forgiving one, the one who endures while others take. And then one day, you look in the mirror and you no longer recognize the reflection staring back. You see the mask you've worn for years, the smile that hides pain, the strength that hides fatigue. And for the first time, you ask, who am I without the pretending? That's the moment the queen wakes up. Alan Watts once said, to let go of yourself, to see life as it is to awaken. When you awaken, you begin to see through the illusion that your value depends on your usefulness, that love must be earned through sacrifice. That peace comes from keeping everyone else comfortable. You begin to realize that selflessness without boundaries is self-destruction, that empathy without discernment is a weapon turned inward, and that kindness without strength is not virtue. It's vulnerability in disguise. This is where dark psychology meets spiritual rebirth, because when you awaken, You start to study human behavior with new eyes. You notice manipulation hidden as affection. You recognize guilt as control. You sense how people feed off your energy, not because they're evil, but because you allow them to. And so you begin the hardest part of the transformation: withdrawal. You stop answering calls that drain your spirit. You stop explaining your worth to those who are blind to it. You stop performing softness for people who mistake it for weakness. You begin to protect your peace like a throne room, not out of cruelty, but out of wisdom. And here's what most don't understand. True power isn't about dominance. It's about emotional sovereignty. The ability to sit with your truth without needing anyone else to validate. A queen doesn't chase closure. She creates it. She doesn't beg for loyalty. She observes who stays when the mask drops. World begins to change around her, not because she manipulates it, but because her energy shifts. Her silence becomes her boundary. Her presence becomes her influence. People start treating her differently, some with admiration, others with fear, because power triggers those who built their comfort around your compliance. Alan Watts taught that we suffer because we cling to the illusion of control. When you stop clinging, you become untouchable. You no longer fight for respect. You radiate it. You no longer explain your worth. You embody it. And in that embodiment, you discover something sacred. You don't need to be chosen. You already were. Life itself chose you to lead, to create, to heal, to rise. This is the awakening. When you stop being the caretaker of everyone else's story and become the author of your own. Because queens don't wait for opportunities. They summon them. They don't hope for change. They command it. And now, as your power rises, you begin to see that the crown you were waiting for was never something to receive. It was something to remember. Section 3. The psychology of the throne. Power has a psychology. It isn't a costume or a crown. It's a state of being. Once you awaken to your power, the next step is learning to wield it. Because the same fire that lights your path can also burn your kingdom down if you don't master it. Every queen must learn 3 things: control of emotion, clarity of boundary, and command of presence. Emotion first. Alan Watts said, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone." People react. They let their emotions lead them into chaos. But a queen observes. She feels everything but acts from stillness. Her composure is not coldness. It's strategy. Because she knows that the moment she reacts, she gives away power. You don't need to explain, argue, or convince. The moment you defend your worth, you've already questioned it. Silence is your greatest weapon, and peace is your sharpest crown. Next, boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls. They are gates. They decide who enters your energy and who must stay outside. And every time you enforce them, your value doubles. People will test them. They'll say, "You've changed." They'll call you distant, selfish, arrogant. But remember this: when you stop being available for manipulation, those who benefited from your weakness will always protest. That is not a reflection of your cruelty. It's proof of your evolution. Then comes presence. A queen's presence changes the temperature of a room, not because she demands attention, but because she no longer needs it. She walks with quiet certainty, a confidence that doesn't shout. It radiates, and that energy is magnetic. It draws the right people and repels the wrong ones without a single word. This is where dark psychology becomes light. You stop playing their game, and instead, they start playing yours. Because power isn't about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself so completely that no one can control you. People often mistake kindness for weakness, but you've learned the difference. You can be soft without being submissive, generous without being drained, loving without losing yourself. That balance is emotional royalty. Alan Watts said, trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. You no longer define yourself through titles, appearances, or approval. You express yourself through truth, through movement, through the quiet decisions no one sees. And soon, you start to notice something extraordinary when you sit fully in your power. Life reorganizes around it. The chaos outside begins to dissolve. The wrong people fall away. The right opportunities appear effortlessly, not because you're lucky, but because your energy has become pure signal. No noise. That's the psychology of the throne. Power through peace. Authority through alignment. Influence through authenticity. You no longer chase control. You embody it. You no longer need to prove your worth. You live it. A queen does not fight for her place. She takes her seat in the world. Adjusts. Section 4. The price of the crown. Every crown has a cost, and every woman who chooses to rise must pay it in full. They don't tell you this part, the silence that follows. Power, the loneliness that creeps in when you stop being who the world wanted you to be. Because the moment you sit on your throne, the applause fades, and the whispers begin. You'll be called cold for protecting your peace, arrogant for standing tall, heartless for refusing to beg for love that should have been freely given. But remember this, a queen is not here to be liked. She is here to be respected, and respect never comes without resistance. Alan Watts once said, the more a thing tends to be permanent, the more it tends to be lifeless. You begin to rise. Everything lifeless falls away. Friendships that were built on convenience. Lovers who only loved your submission. People who only stayed because you made yourself small enough for their comfort. They will fall away, not because you became someone else, but because you finally became yourself. And that's the price of the crown. You'll sit in solitude and question your sanity. You'll feel the ache of isolation and the sting of misunderstanding. But in that silence, you'll also feel something you've never felt before. Clarity. You'll see the world for what it is, a theater of masks. And you'll finally understand that most people fear authenticity because it exposes their performance. Dark psychology teaches us this truth. The moment you stop being manipulable, you become a threat, because people who live by control can't survive in the presence of those who live by truth. You'll be tested, not once, but endlessly. Every time you enforce a boundary, the universe will ask, are you sure you're ready to live without what you've outgrown? And your answer must be silence. The silence of self-trust. You'll learn to walk away without slamming doors. 2. Forgive without allowing re-entry. 2. Love from distance without needing recognition. This is where the crown becomes heavy, not on your head, but on your heart. Because the higher you rise, the fewer will understand your language. You'll have to learn to sit with your own greatness without diluting it to make others comfortable. You'll have to embrace solitude not as punishment, but as refinement. Alan Watts said, you are an aperture through which the universe is looking at itself. So, understand this, your solitude is not emptiness, it's expansion. You are widening the space through which the universe experiences itself. Your isolation isn't rejection, it's initiation. It's the sacred silence. Before the symphony, every queen must walk through this valley, the space between who she was and who she is becoming. It's where humility meets divinity. It's where pain transforms into wisdom. And on the other side of that loneliness, you will emerge untouchable, because the price of the crown isn't just loss, it's transformation. You will lose the version of yourself that needed validation and gain the version that commands reality itself. You'll stop chasing peace because you are peace. You'll stop craving love because you embody it. You'll stop fearing solitude because you've realized that you were never truly alone. You are the entire kingdom. And once you understand that, the crown no longer feels heavy. It feels like home. Section 5. The rain, embodying your divinity and creating legacy. The rain begins the moment you stop waiting for life to crown you, and you realize you were the crown all along. This is not about ego. It's about embodiment. It's about walking as the woman who remembers that she is the universe, dressed in human form. Alan Watts once said, "You do not come into this world. You come out of it like a wave from the ocean." You are not separate from the power you seek. You are that power, temporarily disguised as flesh, bone, and breath. When you live with that knowing, everything changes. You stop moving from desperation and start moving from divine rhythm. You no longer chase purpose. You radiate it. You no longer seek abundance. You attract it, because what you embody, you inevitably create. This is the stage where mastery begins. Not the kind built on noise or performance, but the kind born of stillness. You speak less, but every word carries weight. You act less, but every action creates ripples. You no longer hustle. You harmonize. That's what true queenship feels like. It's not the performance of power. It's the peace of alignment. You learn to lead without needing followers, to give without depleting yourself, to love without attachment, to walk alone and still feel surrounded by purpose. Dark psychology has a final lesson here. People will always project their fears onto your freedom. They will accuse you of being too much, but what they really mean is, you remind me of what I've denied in myself. Don't shrink. Their discomfort is not your problem to solve. Your light will expose every shadow, but it's not your duty to make others comfortable in their darkness. Instead, rule through radiance, rule through example, rule through the quiet certainty that your life is your message. Legacy isn't built through speeches. It's built through energy. It's the invisible imprint you leave on every soul you touch. It's the way you walk into a room and remind others of their own forgotten strength. It's the way your silence teaches more than words ever could. And that's the paradox of true power. You don't have to try to inspire anyone through your existence is inspiration. When you choose yourself fully, when you reclaim your divinity, you become a mirror for the collective awakening. You show the world what it looks like when a woman remembers she's not just human, she's a fragment of the infinite, walking with purpose. So, rule wisely, love fiercely, protect your peace ruthlessly, and never again apologize for your magnitude. Because queens don't wait for validation. They build empires of truth and let the universe bow in response. Alan Watts said, "Man suffers only because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun." Remember that your reign isn't meant to be heavy. It's meant to be art, to live with grace, to move with awareness, to create with love. That is the divine game. So laugh more, create more, forgive more, reign without fear, because your throne is not made of gold. It's made of consciousness. You are not waiting for destiny. You are writing it with every breath. Now, if this message resonated with your soul, like this video, comment below with your own original motivational quote, and turn on notifications to stay connected with future wisdom and growth. Because this is what happens when a queen finally remembers who she is. And once she remembers, the entire world remembers with her.